Yesterday. Okay, today's day. Ready? Kumlan and Ablat Gemara. We are up to Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says we're continuing with the avodah of the Kohen Gadol. What occurred then after we spoke about the 7 days of preparation and how he had to go through the avodah every single day so that he gets used to everything. So the Gemara says here, and they according to Bakiva, they spray him every day. And according to Bakiva, he has to go to mikveh afterwards and so on and so forth. Then they brought over some elders, from the elders of the Bezdin, and the Kohen Lefon of Keseder Hayom. They read before him the order of the day. They read Pashat Achrei. We read last week. Every single day they read through him again, to prepare him, train him for what he's going to expect on Yom Kippur. But they would say to him, Ishi, our master, Kohen Gadol, Korat Bepicha. Maybe you should read it yourself. Shema shachachta. Possible you forgot. Shema leilamadta. Better yet, maybe you never learned it in the first place. Erev Yom Kippur. Remember, because there were a number of years that the Kohen and Gedolim were corrupt, so they had to go through the exercise every single year without distinction. No pictures from the real thing. Erev Yom Kippurim. Erev Yom Kippur. Shachris in the morning. Erev Yom Kippur. Ma'amidin oisei b'sham. They brought him to the east gate. U'ma'avidin lefanav. They passed in front of him. Podim. You should know what an ox looks like. An elim, a ram, the chavasim and sheep. Kidei sheyehei. What's like makir v'rogel ba'avodah. In order that the animal should pass in front of him, and he should then, when it's tangible, when you see animals, then he can apply all the dinim he learned, the theory, and apply it here. According to some of the Shainim, it's not stam, you paraded animals in front of him. It's the very animals that they were going to use tomorrow, they paraded in front of him so that he should become familiar with them. And Kol Shivas Hayamim, the 7 days there was there, they didn't deny him food or drink, he had to eat properly. Erev Yom Kippurim on Erev Yom Kippur im chashecha, the Sulam of second normally eat. They did not allow him to eat too much. Maybe as a shena. We don't want him to sleep the night of Yom Kippur because when you sleep, you can bring on a carry onto yourself and become tummy. So, and certain foods make him sleepy, or if you overeat, it makes you drowsy. So therefore, they did not give him too much food. Says the Gemara Bish, I understand. Shema Shachach. I understand the Gemara says you tell the Kohen it's possible you forgot, so let's go through the exercise again. True. Is it possible that the Kohen Gadol didn't learn? Mimo community can you even say that? How can you establish that? In such an instance, well, Tanya, didn't we learn that Kohen Gadol should be greater than all of his brothers? So we darshan that he should be superior to his brethren. Be handsome. No, charisma is important. The leader has to be. These are the criteria of a leader. He has to be handsome. We're also having more Shabbos about being tall. He should be wise. He should be wealthy, so that you don't have to be beholden to anybody in the community. How do you know she may? Let's say he's not wealthy. If he's kula kodesh, how would he make money? That the brethren actually have to support him and make him wealthy. Also, it's incumbent upon you to pay him higher wages so that he should be well-to-do. He doesn't have to come on to anybody. So how is it possible to have a kohen who doesn't know chumash? The first base of Mikdash, where they follow the criteria of the Torah, that all the kohenim were appropriate ones. We're talking about the second base of Mikdash. And the second base of Mikdash looked at 4.5 tests that they were corrupt, that they bought their positions. And the Gemara here brings the Amar of Asi. Asi said, Tarkava the dinner, three kavim of dinarim. Ailele Marta Bazbaisus. Marta Bazbaisus was a rich woman who became Jewish, converted. She was from the aristocracy of Rome, and she converted, and she married Yeshua ben Gamla, and she gave to Yana Malka 3 kavim of gold. Al the ukbul Yeshua ben Gamla become to make Yeshua ben Gamla the Kohen Gadol. Exactly. Now, The Rishonim have a problem. First of all, there's a Yanai in the Gemara. We always know Yanai. You have Kedusha Samagov. Then was a Russia. He was a Kohen Gadol in his own right. You think he would give up his kuna, and he was a king. He would give up his kuna for 3 kavim. It doesn't make sense. So it must be a different Yanai. So Yanai are you? Could be. So we have 3 Yanai. Second of all, we actually have a machlekes who Yana and Yochanan and Snipper. Then we have brachas. Then another problem having the Shuman Gamling. Morava Basa said he was a great guy. He made the education system that we have today, and we'll see later he made a few other takanas. So some want to say there were 2 Shur Ben Gamlos, usual. Other ones say this one is called Rebbe Shur Ben Gamlo. This is called Yehoshua Ben Gamlo. So you have Rebbe Shur Ben Gamlo was a great guy in Basa. Yehoshua Ben Gamlo is the guy here. Others say he's a good guy, but he wasn't the best. The Torah says you got to pick the best candidate. It's not good enough to have a good guy; you have to have the best candidate. But interesting, from all the kind of Gedolim, he's one of the only ones who left a lasting impression. He set up the whole education system we have in the Jewish world. And so if we see from here, Lav Dafka, the best guy is the best guy. You can have an average guy who can be much more effective. The Rebbe always talks about there's a bar poil and there's a malamed, there's a bar poil. You have people who are unbelievable scholars or geniuses, but they can't teach. They can't teach. And you have others not so smart. They're excellent teachers. They know how to pass it on. That's called a bar poil. And here you see right here, Shub and Gamla was the showing they were not the best guy. Right here, the Gemara seems to be, to hold him in. Exactly. But no, this is our wife. Our wife. Okay. Talking about it further. I don't give a shach. We keep in the morning. They bring all these animals and they would feed them and so on. So time we learned afas to eat him. And one bride says they also brought the male goats, which is the azazel and the chatzas. That's not mentioned here. The Tana did on my time of the Tana to eat him. Why does now Tana include that as well? The animals that they prayed in front of him. So Gemara says as follows: the purpose of this goat is for sins. He feels terrible that people have sinned and he can't do anything about it. Which is his own personal kind of for he brings his own power. That's also for a sin. So what's the difference? If he feels bad that there are sins, then why does he feel bad by the sea? You don't pray in front of him, and why doesn't he feel bad by the power? It says very simple. The power is only for him and his immediate family and all the Kainim, all family. Anything that happens in family, if somebody committed a sin, and made a yodele, he knows. Everyone talks about it. The family keeps it to themselves, but they know. So he can go over the guy and say, "Look, I'm just thinking about tomorrow. Bring a power. Before I bring it, why don't you do tshuva for the way you did yesterday or last week?" But the Kuli Yisrael, when it comes to Seir, for Klal Yisrael, he doesn't know who sinned, and he feels bad that people might have sinned, and he cannot even get them to do tshuva. Amar Rabbeinu says, "Hi, I'm going to say, bar achtek, the one you have to fear the most is not a fremde, but family, and your nephew, your sister's son. Daila, if he's a police officer or tax inspector, havi chazi b'shuka, if you see him in the marketplace, kamei tacha, don't cross paths with him, sneak away, because he then will kamass on you, because he has to show that he's successful, and he knows you intimately, and if he sees that the way you're behaving or whatever your money is and stuff, he'll master you." That's right. Beware of family sometimes. So the Gemara, Kol Shiva Yamla Yamayna, they didn't boil and give him food. Time we learned. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yehuda says, what would they feed him on Yom Kippur in the morning? Salsas, flour, bayim, and eggs, in order to give him diarrhea. It's like a diuretic. In order they should go to the bathroom, so on. So that in order to clean out a system, not right now, so tomorrow he's free. It'll be a busy day when it's time to go to the gentleman's room. You're worried about Kerry. These things that you're going to give him are going to trigger Kerry as well. So what's the point? We don't give him to feed loy abi, which we'll soon see what that is. But I'm going to say loy ababi. What a babi? What is that? Not even white wine. Even white wine can also produce Kerry. What's abi loy esrog? Don't give him to eat esrog. People eat esrog, I guess. Veloy bayim, or esrog maybe generic term, including lemons. Veloy bayim, and not eggs. Veloy yain yosha, not old wine, because all of these things bring on a Kerry. I'm going to say loy ababi. What are we adding there? Loy esrog. Loy bayim, not eggs. Veloy basa, nor meat. Shaman, that's fat. Yain yosh. And the Hashem av yain love, even white wine. Why? Because yain love and maybe someday tumah. But all these things bring on tumah. Even white wine can bring on keri. What have we learned? Zov, a male person who has an emission, there's two possibilities. Either it's coming internally, which makes him tummy. 2 days makes him, tummy. In 3 days makes him tummy. 7 days, and he has to we're going to bring in carbon and so on. But 3 days make three sightings, not 3 days. 3 sightings make him a tummy that he has 7 days and he has to bring carbon. But if you're going to attribute it to some extraneous reason, like he ate the wrong foods, and that's what brought upon this, then you're not tummy. So Zav, Michael, first instance, you try to say attribute that he maybe ate the wrong food and that brought it on to him, and therefore he's not tummy for 7 days. Doesn't mean a carbon. Because it says the pasuk psarai from his basar, but not some other extraneous thing that caused him to happen. And then a bal keri is different. So there's a difference in a zav and a keri. Rashi explains that a zav and a keri come from different parts of your body, and they don't even look the same at all. One is very watery, like scrambled eggs, and one is much more thicker, and so on. So a bal keri, shifazeta is much thicker. So he says over here, Zov tell the Michael, any kind of food. Eliezer, you don't give a Zov to eat when you're checking those 7 days. You want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So you don't give him to eat like chagbi, but like gabam. As soon as that is. But like cold water, maybe to him, anything which brings it up upon him. Like chagbi, like chalab, shouldn't bring milk and no dairy. Like giving no cheese. Like bay and no eggs. Like yain and no wine. What's like gabam? Make risa shapul when you have crushed beans. Ubasa shamin, fatty meat. Umariyat. Megrisin is when you crush the beans, so it makes it very like a paste. Umariyat is fish frying. But like cold vodim hamavin de tumah, and no anything else that brings tumah on onto the person, because then he's trying to have 7 clean days. What else are you adding? You already gave 7 examples. What are you adding? We say, well, like cold vodim tumah. Last week, Chamish is one of 5 things maybe to bring person to Veilehain. Hashoim knobble, garlic. Hashcholim is cress. Hachal gulguloi is some kind of Rashi says pupil or porcelain or something. And habeim eggs and gargin. And Rashi is aroga. I don't think you have aroga here, but they call it here, I think, racket. But in America, it's called aroga. You get the plastic bags already pre-washed and dole. It says arogola, which Rashi says right here is aroga. Anyway, these are all kinds of different greeneries. As it says in Pasuk that what do you call it? The Yotza Echad El Asad, he went out to the field. He went out to the field, the laket, to collect oiros, and he collect oiros. And oiros is this gargir, which we just told you is a rogula. And Rashi brings another explanation. Oiros are all green vegetables. All green vegetables. You know, the Rambam said that green vegetables are not hot for you, not great. But Rashi says about all green vegetables and they're good for you. Because is that gargir, just a gargir. So why is it called oiros? And according to Rashi, we're talking about all vegetables. Shemeidas is a name. It illuminates your eyes. It's healthy. Interesting. So Rashi says all vegetables are healthy. Or the Rambam, I guess we'll learn that it's only gargir, this arogola, kind of lettuce, kind of leaves. Abuna says gargir im yochel achle, if you can eat it. You eat it. If not, use as a paste over your eyes because it helps your eye. We just said it helps your eyesight. So either eat internally is the best thing. If not, put it on externally. But a papa, we're told when is it really the feature so well for you? If it grows on the boundary of your field, it's on its own in isolation, so it doesn't get corrupted by other seeds and everything else. So it's very potent. Now that we mentioned all these things that bring on keri, so one should be careful. If you're a guest in somebody's house, you don't want to leave behind stains on the linen and so on. But avoid eggs. He lends you his towel. Don't go to sleep with his cloak or anything else, but you might leave a keri in the morning, and it's not nice. Rav, now this is an interesting one. We'll have a bit more about the Yibam. Rav. Rav used to travel. Whenever he would come to the town of Darshish, Machris, he would make an announcement. Who is ready to be my wife for the day? So he shouldn't have any hirudim, he shouldn't have any other machshavas. So when he traveled to this town, he prepared himself before. So you think what it means. Rab Nachman had the same kind of behavior. When he came to Shechantiv, interesting. Why put these 2 cities? It seemed like it doesn't say whenever they travel to wherever they traveled. Only Rav, only when he went to Tarshish, and Rav Nachman only went to Shechansin. Something about those towns that evoked by them certain whatever, and they therefore had decided the only way to prevent. Yeah, but from those towns. Let's say whenever they traveled. Does he have any comment there? Sorry? Does he say anything there? Why that these two towns? Says the Gemara, but Tanya, Rabbi Lezman, Yaakov, this behavior is not appropriate. Forget about immoral. Don't go when you travel and have wives all over the world. Find out what's wrong. Because what happens if the kids grow up and they get married to each other without realizing they're brothers and sisters, half brothers and half sisters. And I'm not sure exactly how I guess he doesn't know his own kids. You're populated world.
It's not like he's getting to know everyone.
That's true. Well, then Nemrod said, you're filling the world with populated world with snus. Amri Rabban, Amri, we say, Rabban and Kalislu, if this kid was born from like Rav or Rav Nachman, then the mother will make sure that the last name is going to be Ravson, Nachmanson. So everybody knows exactly who the kid is, so no trouble can happen.
One of these.
So the Gemara taking this very literally. Says the Gemara, Rava said, if you want to marry a woman, the moment you say, I want to marry you, you have to have Shiva Nikiyim because Dam Chimud is all excited. But in spite of Shiva Nikiyim, Traces from here that even an 8-year-old girl also, even though she never saw Dam before, there's still a Dam Chimud, because otherwise maybe the girl that he was going to live with was under 9 years old. Is it right? No matter what age you are, there's Dam Chimud. So Gemara gives two answers. One answer is they were so prepared, they had an itinerary at least 7 days in advance. Rabbanon idu you have a maydul mekedem. Have mekadmim mishalish luchim. They knew they were going to Shchantzim or they were going to the to Darshish. They would send out a what do you call it? Like a messenger a while earlier.
So someone has to put up the sign so they follow you.
Yeah, exactly. But that's where it came from. But the purpose of the sign was that
everyone should be prepared.
Don't understand this Gemara here. But anyway, so that's one. They never got married. They when he found this woman, so you're asking a question of the she's a niddah. All they did was they were together. So what was the point? So Rashi takes it literally. In both cases, he definitely sent out an envoy to find him a woman, and they would get officially engaged or married, but they didn't live together. It was just yichud, and they would divorce her after he left town. He's a long case. It has a whole discussion. So how can it be in yichud? The thing is that if you get married and you're what do you call it? And the first night she's a niddah. You're not supposed to mean who has been in a room. Right at the beginning. They're supposed to be separated. You have to have people in the room to make sure that everything happens. So how can they live together? The Ri says, the argument with Rashi. Rashi learns that he said he'll get married to her, and they got married, but he didn't live together. But he says, no, he told them, I don't want to marry you. I just want to have your company. So therefore, there was never, that Gemara is talking about if you got married. That's one. You didn't get kedushin. The second answer Gemara is there's no marriage, just yichud. The other answer is when do we say only if a bocher and a young girl, a psula? But since he had another wife somewhere else, so therefore the urge is not there because he knows he can always go back to his own wife. Or others say he never intended to live with her here. Yeah, I just want a wife. So if I want something, I know I can take her back with me to my hometown. So there's no problem with Mamzedis because I'll take her with me and she'll live with me because I'll marry more than one wife. So that's what happened over here.
So that's the main one. I
mean, because I'll take her back with me. No, I can take her back with me in my town. I know that I have the ability because I already got her engaged. And if I want to stay married to her, I can take her back. So there won't be any yichud during the 7 days. Nothing happened in 7 days, but I can take it back with me home.
Okay.
But the problem then is you're not allowed to be together. Unless actually we're relying on that opinion that if you're married and you have a wife somewhere else, then you're allowed to be together because you can control yourself. Says the Mishnah, okay, let's move on. And this is all before we spoke about Keddy, so we went a little bit digressed a little bit. Says the Gemara, Mishnah Masnisin. All the Gemara is trying to say, when we say, "Ain't Apotrufus La Royis," even Rav and even Ramnachim, the greatest tzaddikim, you have to be aware that there's the Yitzhak, and you have. That's why the rules of Yichud, and that's why you have all these laws in place, because nobody is perfect. We're all fallible. Masru Zikne Bezin, Likne Kahuna, the Zikne Bezin gave them over to the Zikne Kahuna. Okay, after they went around, they told them all that the men they showed the animal, prayed animals. Now they gave him over to Zikne Kahuna, the Helu, and they brought him up. La Bi Aliyah's base of Tinnis. We're soon going to see where this attic is a base of Tinnis. Okay, we're going to see where base of Tinnis have a big thing over here. And base of Tinnis is, if you look, okay, here, but this is the map here. We have. This is the east side when you enter the Beis Hamikdash. This is the east side when you enter the Beis Hamikdash, and you walk up here. Beis of Tinnis is number 44, which is right here, right on the side of the Beis Hamikdash. If you remember, Beis of Tinnis is where they prepared all the what do you call it, dictators and all that. So they brought him to the Beis of Tinnis, and they made him swear. We'll soon see what. The Niftru, and then they parted. We'll soon see where he was. That's what we're going to be discussing about. These view, and they made him swear the Niftru, and then they left him. We'll soon see what they made him swear. Basically, what it was is to make sure that he's not going to behave like Dukim, because Dukim believe that Kohen Gadol has to burn the incense before he enters the Kodesh HaKadoshim. We say Dafka in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He does a whole ritual of the incense, and it's therefore we make him swear that he's not a Duki, that he's going to follow exactly what the Torah said. The whole Chulem, then they leave. And they say to him, Ishi, Master Kohen Gadol, Anu Shluchei Bezin, V'ata Shlucheinu. We are the Shluchim of Bezin, and you're our Shlich. You Kohen Gadol represent Klal Yisrael. The Shlich Bezin, Mashbin Anu Alecha, and therefore we as the Shlich Bezin make you swear. B'misha Shachem, Shichem Shmoi B'Bayzeh. The one who rests his name in his house, Shaloi Tishana Davikum Hasheman Lach. You should not in any way deviate from what we tell you. The very fact that they're alleging that he might deviate from the Torah that they suspect of being Zuki causes him to cry. How can you even be choshen me? The fact that never have to the situation came to be that you have to even suspect the Kohen Gadol to be a Zuki is a terrible situation. So they cried. If the Kohen Gadol was a chacham, he would darshan himself. In halachas, then Ta'i Nari and Kippur, so he doesn't fall asleep. And we don't want to, and the reason why they want to fall asleep is he shouldn't say carry. If he's not a Talmud Chacham, but Talmid Chachamim doishul upon him. In other words, he cannot dash and be understand, so he'll hear people from other people. The Imraga Lika, but he's not shaykh even for that. He only knows, Tanakh. Okay, Koide, then you read Tanakh. The Lav, and if he can't do that, Koide in Lefanov, you read before him Tanakh. Well, the man couldn't find out what he reads, interesting parts. Iyuv was pretty depressing, but you read Iyuv because it's still enticing. And read about Ezra. Divrei Hayamim, the history of the Divrei Hayam Tanakh. And Zechariah ben Kavutal once said that Pamim Harbe, it happened many times. I read the Neil, but that was interesting. Kept the Kohen Gadol alive.
Ezra the Neil didn't happen until by Shani.
This only.
These were the Kohen who couldn't learn themselves.
Exactly.
By Shlish, they would be dash.
Exactly. Second base, what do you make a shua? The shua only came about in the second base of made That's right. Finally, we learn why did we bring him to the base of Tinnis here, number 44? Is so he should learn to teach him the Chfinah. Chfinah is considered the most difficult job, or one of the most difficult jobs. Malika also was very hard with the nails to cut, to shech the break, the bird. But the Chfinah was a very difficult job because he had to hold the shovel, he had to hold the ladle. He had to hold the ladle that had the ashes, the incense, and put it on his hand while still holding the ladle and fill it with both hands. So the ladle was like between his arms or his teeth, and he would put it like this. So it's one of the most difficult tasks of the Kohen Gadol. I have to train him. You need training. I'm gonna Papa. Now Papa says now we're gonna have to follow the layout of the Beis Hamikdash. Shtei l'shachas hayla the Kohen Gadol. There were two chambers that the Kohen Gadol had for his own private use. Achas, one is called Lishchas Parhedrin. We slept. That's we slept for 7 days. We're going to conclude that Lishchas Parhedrin is number 24, right here. You see here? On the north side, right next to the base Hagozis, which is over here, and Lishchas Hagoyla, which is over here. Okay? And Then we have which we conclude is over here. Now, we did a Titus. Now you'll notice on top of right next door to the base of Tinnis is number 43, which is a mikveh. You see that blue? That blue is a mikveh. This is called Shar HaMayim, this is outside the base of Mikdash, and there's a mikveh. So there's one mikveh that was outside the base of Mikdash. There was another mikveh, which is right here on top of number 27, which is called Lishchas HaParva. And up over here was a mikveh, but that's inside the base of Mikdash. So all the tefillahs that had to be done inside the base of Mikdash was done on this mikveh here. Or the first one in the morning, which is done every single day, is done before you enter the base of Mikdash, is right over here. But the Kohen slept in Lishchas HaParhedrin. And that Papa is going to wonder, is Parhedrin here and Beis HaTin is here? Or is Parhedrin here, which is so much easier for the Kohen Gadol? He gets out of bed, right there's the mikveh, Machayat. And the Beis HaTin was over here. So this is the discussion we're going to have here. Says the Gemara, one is called Parhedrin, one of them was on the north side of the Beis HaMikdash, was the south side. How do I know one of them was on the north side? Now we learned. There were 6 lishachas in the 6 chambers. Nazara, Gimel b'tzafon, 3 on the north. The Gimel b'darim, and 3 in the south, and 3 on the north. Yeah, Shibadar in the south. You have Lishchas HaMelech. In the south, you have a room called Lishchas HaMelech. We'll still see what they did over here. That's number 26. Then you have Lishchas HaParva. So we're looking at the map here from the art scroll right in the beginning. Lishchas HaParva. We'll soon see what Lishchas HaParva was. And then you had that right at the Lishchas HaParva upstairs was the mikveh. And then you have Lishchas HaMadichin with the Easter rinse. We'll see what that was. So the more explain that. Lishchas HaMelech, number 26. What did they do over here? Shesham HaYinoisim Melech carbon. That's where they placed the salt on the carbon. Lishchas HaParva, Sham over there. Hayamochin Oidos Kachin. They salt the hides of the kachim. The Al-Gaga Hoises base filler the Kohen Gadol, the Yom Kippurim. And on top of that, there was a mikveh for the Kohen Gadol when you keep it because it's inside the base of Mikdash. Lishchas Hamadichin. What's a Lishchas Hamadichin? Sham Hayamadichin. They used to rinse Kirbe Kachim, the innards of the Kachim. Umisham Mesiba Oile Legag. So in this room here, number 26, there's a spiral staircase that took you up to the roof, so you can get to the top of number 27, which is where the mikveh is. So that's this side. Beis HaParva, the top of Beis HaParva. Gimel Shebetzafim. What are the 3 rooms on the north side, on this side over here? So you have Lishchas HaEitz, which we don't know what Lishchas HaEitz is, we'll soon see. Then you have Lishchas HaGoyla. This is called the room of the Goyla. We'll soon see why it's called of the exile. We'll soon see. Or Goyla might be the wheel. And Lishchas HaGozes. Lishchas HaGozes is a big room over here. This big chamber here, Lishchas HaGozes. So Lishchas HaEitz is number the closest to the wall here, to the outside of the Beis Mikdash. And Lishchas HaGoyla is the one closer towards the Beis Mikdash. We don't know yet. Well, that's what we're going to discuss. And the big one is Lishchas HaGozes. The second time he forgot what it is. And Abba Shol, some another remembered everything. Abba Shol says, maybe that's why he mentioned also Abba Shol, because he obviously was very much in tune with what's happened in the Beis Mikdash. Lishchas Kohen Gadol Hoysa Achoydeshtem. This Lishchas HaEitz was actually the Kohen Gadol's room. The Kohen Gadol's and the Kohen Gadol's room. The Gag Shlosh and Shavet, the roof of Gozis, the Kohen Gadol's room, and Lishchas HaGoyla was they shared one roof. It was level. Lishchas HaGoyla, why is it called Goyla? Sham HaYaboid HaGoyla. There was the cistern. There was a well that was according to Rashi that was made by the people of the Goyla. They paid for it and everything else. But Galgun Nassau was a wheel there. And that's where they drew water for the entire courtyard for everybody there. Others say it's called Goyla because of the wheel. Galgun. That's what's called Goyla. Lishchas HaGozi, this big room here, Sham Hayis Sanhedrin Shayisol Yoshevet. That's where the Sanhedrin sat. V'don as a Kohen used to judge. Their role was, besides everything else, was being the highest in Sanhedrin. They also had to screen all the Kohanim. Remember that Gimel Beis had Psachim there when they used to check the Kohanim, see where he's from, and when this Kohen who blurted out, spoke disrespectfully, they realized they checked into him. They realized the Yichus was yeah. So they found up so the Kohen that was sorry. Was disqualified from working. So the Kohen was disqualified from working. So they did was he would put on black, the Miss Atish and wrap himself in black, the Yatsa, and he went out. The Halach and he left. So they found the Kohen that was qualified. He dressed in white and he wrapped it in white, and it was Benichnis or Misham Kohen. So that was the role of the gazes. Why is it called gazes? Either because the stone there was cut, in the base of Mikdash, you only have stones that were cut, right? Like Mizbech. But this was like outside, and therefore you're allowed to have, it was area outside. You're allowed to have gazes, or because their job was to be gazes to cut out the kainim that were possible. So it's called lishchas hagazes. Different Shayim, different shot. Yeah. Says the Gemara, and now. Bedore, achas bedore. There was also one in the south that now we learned. What do you mean? Now we learned Shiva. Now we're talking about the gateways. There were 7 Azores. There were 7 entrances to the Beis Hamikdash. 7 entrances. Gimel B'Tzavim, the 3 in the north, and the Gimel B'Darim, and after them, we're 3 in the south. The Echmin and 1 in the east. Shibid the 3 in the south are as follows. This is called number 46. It's called Shar Hadleika, the gate of the fire. Shani Loy Shara Carbon, and Rashi has no idea why they had these names. It seemed that that's where the people came in and brought the kabbanis, those who want to. And Shlish Loy Shara Maim. This one here is Shara Maim, and you had a mikvah top of it, because that's why. Because there was a spring called the Me'etim, and that was a little bit higher up on the mountain, and that flowed down and it went right into the mikvah over here. So therefore, it's called Shara Maim. Sheba Mizrach, what was on the east side? They had Shar Nikoner over here, right in the middle. You had the main entrance was Shar Nikoner, which we'll learn later why he was called Nikoner. There were 2 rooms. Achaz b'yamina, v'achaz b'smailei. There were 2 rooms. One was on the right side. One was on the left side. Achaz is called Lishchas Picha Malbish. We had this in Shkolim. One was called Pinchas, who used to dress the Kainim. Now, we had an opinion that all the generations, not only a guy called Pinchas, but all the generations went after his name and called Pinchas. That was the name of the room. And the one on the left was the room where they prepared the chavitin that he did every morning. Shebet Safa, now we had 3 in the north as well. You had Shar Nitzah, you had this room right here, it's called Shar Nitzah, Shar the Spark. You see, most of the room was built outwards and had 3 walls like a porch, like a veranda. We had an upstairs above it, and what was the role of that place? The Kohanim stood upstairs here, and the Leim were downstairs. Working your way towards the east, this one here, which is like these gates correspond to these gates here. This was over here, that's no man's land in between the Seidig and the Beis Hamikdash. And what did? A Sheni Loy Shara Carbon, and this entrance there is called the Shara Carbon again. And Shlish Loy Shara Beis Hamikdash. This big entrance here, if you remember, we learned this before, is the Shara Beis Hamikdash. We had the 4 rooms. We had the 2 brises that contradict each other. And we gave different roots, whether Rabbi and Yaakov argues or whether actually it was right in the middle. Not this picture. This picture is taking Rabbi and Yaakov's view. The other one was that remember that the Lishchat was right in the middle, and depends on where you're standing. That's what you're saying where it is. But Tanya, we learned. There were 10. There were 5 tefillas that the Kohen Gadol had to do, and 10 times he had to mekadosh himself, his hands and his legs. The kula and the kodesh all had to be done in the Beis Hamikdash, al gag Beis Haparve. So which mikveh did he go to? This mikveh right here, because this mikveh is inside number 27, inside the Beis Hamikdash. Chutz mezu shehaisa b'choil, except the first one over here, which was done outside the Beis Hamikdash, al gab sharamayim, on top of the sharamayim, uvitzad lishchasei hoya, and it was right next to his room. 44 was where the Kohen Gadol went. But he says, I don't know. Lishchas Parhedrin B'Tzafin is the Lishchas Parhedrin over here, number 24. Is that Lishchas where the Kohen Gadol slept? And the Lishchas B'Tzafin B'Darim, and Lishchas is right here, number 44, which is right next to the mikveh. Lishchas B'Tzafin B'Tzafin, or maybe Lishchas B'Tzafin was the north. This was Lishchas B'Tzafin, and the Lishchas B'Tzafin B'Darim, and Lishchas B'Tzafin is number 44 right here. And Mistabra L'Chayda, for convenience sake, it would make sense the Lishchas B'Tzafin B'Darim have it. That this one is actually right here. Imagine going out of bed, right there's your mikveh, right there's your shul, so machaya.
I'm thinking if you hold them here,
we'll see in a minute. That's where it is. That's going to conclude.
How does he go across? He has to go outside somehow. There's no gate to the outside to go all the way around.
There's always a chash to him every day. That's why he went to.
The first tefillah has to be machutz, right?
That's every morning. Yes. Every morning, right? So
how does he go across the Azor if he has a chash to him? He has to go outside. Right?
Maybe Utzla Gaz is away going out. Maybe he walk right to Utzla Gaz and go right out there. Maybe I don't know. The lishchat had bedorim. Umestabel makes sense. The lishchat's part hedging bedorim have it. It makes more sense. The lishchat hedging was south. My timer. Magdim ko. He gets up in the morning. Umeisich his raglav and he washes his feet. Vitovely goes to the mikveh, and then Ba'azul Tzafim takes a stroll spatzir over to the north. The Gama Chafina. He learns out how to do the whole thing. And Ba'azul Beis Hamikdash, and he walks to Beis Hamikdash. Va'avid Aveda Kula Yoma, and he does the Aveda all day. Lebahad Panya later on. Madir Leh. Remember, we learned before that they sprayed him towards the end of the day with the problem that we had. So they sprayed it because I could have a kiva. If you spray in the morning, you can't do any avoid in the day. So what was the point of training? So we gave an answer there. If you remember, every day, right before night. So the Bahadi Pani told late afternoon, they sprayed him, and he went back to his place in the south. He went to the mikveh, he went down for a siesta. The Gomach, when he learned because if you can say if you can tell me that he actually slept on the north side, Magnum Koy Mesa Ragos, if you go and anoint his feet, but Ozul Adarim, you have to go all the way to the south. The Tov will go to Mikveh, the Gamach will learn how to do the dictators. Then, but also the base of me, avoid the cooling game, if we do is avoid the base of me. Just like the pan lane after the matter, they would spray in, but Hazard do double, Tov Mikveh. And then, boy, Mahad, the Mazel Tov, you go all the way back to Tov from the main and go for siesta. Get a hard work. Me, Tarach Matachin, the Kula High. It's not fair. To make the coin, you work so hard. How far was it? 135 amas, we said. It's 135 amas wide. That's a long walk when you're tired. Remember, Yechan Kohen God was 80 years. By the time he was in his later on years, it was getting good. Exactly. Says, what's wrong with being Matzirich the Kohen God? It's like an acid test to see whether he was truly dedicated Yoresh Shemaim or not. If he's going to start krechting and Shmer says, he says Shmer, then you know that he's not. He's not he's not made out of the substance to be a Kohen Gadol. Each dukihu, because this might be an incentive that he's duki lifresh for that alone. He say, you know what? I'm not interested. It's too hard. Or explain walking 135 amas. He's prepared to buy his position. Money is no object, but to walk 135 amas, that's it. I'm quitting.
It's about just under 100 meters, isn't it?
No, it's less, much less. An amma, let's say, according to the opinion, 22 inches. Let's say even 22 inches is the bigger one. Work it out. An amma 22 inches is almost 2 feet.
2 feet is
135 is, let's say, is 270 feet, which is it's about 90 meters.
Yeah,
which is what? From here to the end of the half the street. No. From Yeshiva to probably the corner. Inami, or another reason why we make him walk this way. Interesting. Forget about the accusation of Suki. The Kohen Gadol shouldn't think that he's on top of the world. He shouldn't think he's on top of the world. And Rashi says over here that even if he's an Adam kosher, it's very difficult to not notice how everybody's giving you covered, and something should start, filtering into your mind that maybe I'm a special guy. So therefore, we don't want him to be too proud. If not, why do we both of them like? Why is one in room or one or another? If we are worried about tircha, and you therefore want to make that parhedin is right next to the mikveh, bring also the base of tircha right next to the mikveh, make it over here so that he can just get out of bed, go to mikveh, and get out of the mikveh, jump into the next place and get his training. Why even have 2 rooms? Have it all in the same place where he sleeps and prepared that this way. He doesn't have to do any effort. Obviously, we don't mind if he has a little bit of tircha to make sure he's Yireh Shamayim, or that he should humble him a little bit. Okay, we'll stop over here today.